Part of the concept for this was, I think, first just kind of coming out here and doing a visit and seeing what was possible. I started doing searches around ideas of beauty and decay, and I wanted to see kind of what imagery would result from doing those image searches. And basically what ended up happening is I would put in the word beauty and it would be basically a bunch of skinny white women. No matter how I tried to search or disrupt the singular depiction of women, it would always kind of pull back. And so the colors come in as a way to represent the search results, and the imagery that is printed on the transparency films are the results from that color search. In the process of thinking about where these were going to be displayed in the museum, I needed to figure out something to do with these window display cases. And we arrived here, I realized that this is actually the same county where I was incarcerated. And so that's what made me start to think about how these are kind of confined, like they're very cell-like versus this open space with the free forms. I wanted to basically figure out a way to work through some ideas that related to my own incarceration. And so that kind of led me to think about, using glass as a material and how to convey this idea of incarceration within the limitations of that material itself. For this exhibition in particular, I'm also creating these visual forms that are hanging in the display cases, which correlate to the rates of incarceration by race in New Jersey and how that corresponds to the general population of people in New Jersey. There are also pieces that bear the markings of being restricted. It's like how people aren't allowed to really grow while they're confined within the system versus how people can kind of overcome those restrictions once they're free. The thing that is really striking is that the biggest pronounced difference in racial disparities is between black people and white people. And so in the state of New Jersey, I believe white people make up close to 60% of the population, and they only represent around 20% of the incarcerated population. And these are all adjusted for rates, right? But if you look at black people, they only make up, I believe it's 13% of the population of New Jersey, but they make up 50% of the people incarcerated in New Jersey. And so there's this huge overrepresented in the prison system. And so that's a pretty telltale sign that that's a result of policy decisions, because all of the data and all of the research and studies show that white people and people of color commit crimes at the same rate. And so there are other factors that flow into why certain people are getting incarcerated versus others. And so it's like things like targeted policing and other policy decisions that people are intentionally making to target those communities so that they can send them to prison. New Jersey used to have a lot of manufacturing jobs in other industries. So like lumber was a big one, the oyster industry was another. But over time, those industries began to kind of die out for a variety of reasons. But the thing that replaced them were prisons. And so now, in the state of New Jersey, between corrections officers and the police department, probation, and parole officers, they make up the largest employer in the entire state of New Jersey. And the problem with that is when it's the number one provider of jobs, it incentivizes the reason to incarcerate more and more people and keep them in prison for longer and longer. And so it's like problematic all the way around. And so for me, this is all one singular way of representing issues of incarceration and issues of race and what goes into those systems, but also kind of the broader resilience of people, even in spite of some of those systems.